Guys, so it's been a little while since I gave you an update on what's happening for the site. So as you know, with SEO it takes time, so I kind of leave it, what I like to do is leave sites on a back burner and then work on others, but I'm going to jump back to the site now and basically give you an update of what's happening. So with this category I added people watching in, so same sort of thing, I did couple with all these articles and it generated the images and done it all, and it's all, each article is linked up to the category page as well. But for rankings, so I've not added all the content on. I've got like 570 posts or something, I believe, so I need to add a few more on. But these are the current rankings with SERP Robot, and this is ranking in the US. So we've got one page in the top 10, which is quite nice for a brand new website. And let me have a look. So what I've done recently is I've done 100 directory listings. I'm working on the calculate page, designing that and getting it set up. So I've not done that yet. I need to get that finished, but as with anything, it's taking a bit longer because of other projects. But with this, I've just started adding an IFTTT network, and all this is basically social sharing, and well, it's not just social entities, it's all different platforms like Blogger, Medium, everything like that. So basically it goes to your RSS feed, so you have your main site, and then that will get shared automatically with applets to like Twitter, to everything like that, so you don't have to do social sharing automatically. So it will share to this ring, and then it will go from that ring down to 3 others. So it's a 4-ring process is what I set it up with, a tier 2. So every tweet I share will also go to this hub, which will then share out to other hubs. So the targeted, like the main ring is like your branded ring, so that's going to be like observation hobbies, it's going to be branded on that. And then each of these rings are persona branded, which come off they come off like one hub of this, so it carries on like a hub and spoke. So it's basically like a tier 2 sharing of your content. This basically just helps with the entities. I'm not too sure if it technically does really work or doesn't really work, but everything, you basically do as much as possible and then hope you start ranking. So I try and do pretty much everything and go from there, take things out, add things in. But this is pretty good because the site, I designed it a little bit differently and posted every single article at once rather than in stages. What I'm having to do is scrape a bit of the content and then re-upload it to this IFTTT network. I'm not doing this personally as well, I'm paying someone to do this, so I've got a few people which do this. I'll give a link in the description. The new guy I've got doing this because obviously it's a bit more extra work because I'm having to actually scrape the content and add it in, because usually it'll just do it as soon as you post. So it's costing a bit extra, so I need to see how good he is and if he actually gets it right before fully recommending him. But I will put him in the description just to give you guys a heads up of the guy I'm using for this network. And he's done well. It sounds like he's going to do a pretty good job, but we'll see what he does. I also forgot to mention, so I'm just adding this in. So the reason I do like IFTTT networks and stuff like that is to help with link indexing and to get links back to the website. So what you want to do is, like a little SEO tip, is follow Google Search Console Central and watch some of the videos. What you can do is just use like a summarizer. I've not got it in this browser, but just summarize the content, put it in a Google Doc, and just try and find like the diamonds in kind of what they're saying. Most of the stuff's kind of common sense, but it's nice to hear basically what Google actually say about indexing and about everything about ranking. So it's always a good idea to follow them and see what they're saying. And I actually summarized it and added a few points, went over it, so I'm gonna cover a few bits now. And then I also did this little map, the same pretty much as what Income Stream Surfers did, but highly recommend following those guys. They're really, really good. But what I'm going to do is just do my little spin on it and basically cover the same sort of thing from what that video says. So crawling starts at the top. So crawling starts at the home page. This always gets crawled no matter what. So you want to make sure your home page always links to the top articles you want indexing, which I generally do with your like best sort of money making articles, and you also want recent articles there to make sure Google crawls your recent articles and gives them some love and put them basically in the index. So I always make sure the homepage is optimized as a navigational site and keep adding more and more pages to it, especially ones you want to get indexed. Basically, I'm covering indexing and using URL Monitor next. But to help your sites get indexed, basically you want good content, and then if you start publishing like bad content, and then good content, the index ratio is like they always get indexed, the site will all get indexed, and then when you start publishing bad content and bad content again, the chances of getting indexed here go like a lot lower. So you want to make sure it's always good content, because if you start doing bad content, basically your chances of getting indexed and pages falling out the indexes increase. So it's a very good thing to monitor and make sure you keep publishing good content, going back and updating content to make sure Google basically shows your site some love and keeps it indexing, because Google, there's a big problem now with sites always getting de-indexed and pages getting de-indexed. So it's a good idea to stay on top of this and basically keep submitting pages back to Google to say that you do want them indexed. And if you've got an established website and getting direct traffic, this actually helps your website getting indexed too. So basically what I summarized and went through this content is the less frequency of changes or lower quality content gets prioritized lower. So if you got a site which you got some pages basically where you don't really need to keep indexing, keep changing, rather it gets on a lower priority for indexed and crawled again. So if you do update that page, you want to submit it to Google to get it indexed for the new content. So it goes to a low priority. This is not necessarily a bad thing unless it drops out the index. So I don't think I covered this before, but basically different parts of the websites gets treated differently based on the content. So there is an overall quality score, which I don't think I covered earlier, but individual pages also get treated differently based on quality, based on the quality of the content. And this is what they covered in the video. So user-generated content sections get crawled less and if deemed lower quality. And I'm not too sure why Google's actually saying this, because as you all know, like Reddit and Quora and stuff are indexing like crazy and they're getting shown massive love and massive rankings in Google. But this is what they mentioned. So if you got user-generated content and it's deemed low quality, it's going to get crawled less. So to improve quality score, potentially removing lower quality content. So I think I've covered this a few times. I'll maybe do a video about this. But I always audit content and try to remove, edit, or 301 redirect to more of a substantial page. But you want to make sure you've not got low quality crap content on your site, basically. Let's have a little look. So you want branded searches to your website. So you can use my forum technique where you summarize your content and post it on forums. This will help get branded searches to your website and drive direct traffic. I'll leave a link in the description for my little ChatGPT, custom ChatGPT to do this automatically. The key focus and the idea of Google is to, it doesn't just to elevate individual pages, but the overall content score across the entire website. So we've covered that. The key focus and the idea of Google isn't just to evaluate individual pages, but an overall quality score across your entire site. So this makes sure basically sites with thousands of pages, if some sites are bringing it down with basically not formatted content or just thin content, it brings down the entire site. So you got to be careful with that. So some factors for bad content is formatting errors. So I always like to add bullet points and make sure it's spaced out, even like spaced out quite a lot. And because I like making sure the words are a little bit bigger, because it gets you more ad revenue and it's better for people to read, basically, especially on mobile. So I always make sure there's more spacing because generally my wording's bigger. So grammatically correct and well-written content, usefulness to the reader. So misleading or stock images. So I basically don't use stock images anymore. All the AI images are generated and they look better. And that's pretty much it for that. So I've covered this a few times before, but one of the main reasons to lose rankings if people are clicking on your page, realizing the content's crap, and going back to the SERPs to find a different result. So you always want like the basically above the fold, the initial like page to look good and entice the reader to scroll down, and then I always like to try and give them an answer or give them a reason to hook them in to read more, because you don't want them going back to Google and basically trying to find another result. So for indexing, I'm using Ian Nuttall's URL monitor. So these are the total index pages and the ones in progress. So it isn't too bad for adding all these articles at once. And then all you got to do is it basically just automatically does that and then just index it. But I've just put auto index on enabled, so it's just going to auto index all the content. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm using URL Monitor to auto index all the content, SERP Robot to track. I'm building an IFTTT network to share all the content, and I've done 100 directory listings, which I've then put into Omega Indexer, which will index all the URLs basically. And that's pretty much it for a quick update. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.